Now we're ready to work on verbs 125. It should say John had walked. So let's go there. Okay. Here, if we rest our cursor there, we see that the salient span is flashback. Flashback means someone is telling a story, and then at some point in the story there's some earlier event that's relevant. So they do a flashback. They go back in time, they tell about that earlier event, and then they resume the story. In English, we have what we call the perfect aspect, like John had walked, I have eaten. Okay, when we say I have eaten, what that means is I ate in the past, but it's still relevant right now. In other words, I don't need to eat again right now. I have eaten. Many languages don't have anything like the English perfect. So we, my colleagues and I, as we're building the source text for the Bible, we avoid flashback as much as possible. Because many languages don't have a good comparable grammatical mechanism. For many languages, the closest they can come is to insert an adverb like earlier or previously. So my colleagues and I, whenever we use flashback, we try to make sure that the word earlier or previously or something like that would fit appropriately into the text. And that's when we use flashback. But occasionally we have to use it. So let's go ahead and write a rule that will generate John had walked. Let's go back to our spell out rule for verbs. And we have a layer specifically for salient spans. And you may remember up here in the upper left corner, we've already specified backgrounded actions or flashback. Those are really the only two salient spans that we use when we're analyzing the Bible. So we already have a row for backgrounded action. Let's add another row for flashback. And we'll set the features. Okay, salient span, flashback. Let's enter a comment. John had eaten, so that's the perfect. And all we need now is that auxiliary. Later we'll find out that this also needs to be a bit more complex. But for now, this is sufficient. Let's save it. Okay, generated text is identical to documents text. We'll save that. Okay, so all of our verbs are done now. All that's left is these four. Now, it's always a good idea to occasionally, as you've been working on your grammar and your writing rules, editing rules, it's always a good idea to occasionally come back and regenerate all of your texts. So far we've generated nouns 1.1 to verbs 127, and we regenerate them just to make sure that the changes we made in the grammar haven't adversely affected something that was already working properly. So I'm going to do that now. It'll be a time lapse, but I'm going to regenerate these just to make sure the changes I've made to the grammar don't adversely affect any of the other sentences. Okay, so we see that these four are the only ones that are still improper. These four changed. Now the preposition is before this year, but all of the ones that we've saved, none of them were adversely affected. If we come over here, so it's still these four and no more. So that's good. So in the next video, we'll start working on these four.